so hard being this vulnerable on this show.
So this like mountain appears in front of me and these papers start flying around it. And it's like, you have to sign new contracts. You have to sign new contracts. And I'm like, you're possessed by Kali. And I'm like signing these new contracts. And they're like, don't have for 5 years and we will put a baby in you.
That was 5 years ago, Tanya.
That was,
and
I know, we're about to. Welcome to the Acid for Squares podcast. I'm your host, Tanya Dahl.
And I'm Cody Blue. And if you like what we're doing here, please smash that subscribe button, rate, comment. We are a heavily censored show, and all the help you could give us would be greatly appreciated. And on today's episode, our guest is
us.
No one. It's just us.
Oh my God, the spirit of Valentine's
That's
Day
right.
is
Valentine's Day, bitches.
It's our guest.
Valentine's Day. That's right. We figured we would take the time to talk about Valentine's Day, tell our love story at the end of this. I think at the end of this, we're gonna
talk about some weird Valentine's Day history.
Yeah, and we're gonna show people our wedding video, that right? Because we got married in this fucking studio. We'll talk about it when the time comes.
Yeah,
but it's gonna be a cool episode. I mean, I feel like we should start by giving some love to
Speaking of love and Valentine's Day, we really just want to show immense gratitude to everyone who watches the show and comments on all of our stuff.
We see you guys.
We see you guys. There's like 4 people I just want to say really quick. So Janae Robinson, just always thank you. We have Chaos of 7. Live News
Who is
969. I don't know. And then also Mark Babin. Those are our 4 for this one. But thank you guys so much. You have no idea how much it means to us. And some of you are, just commenting to comment. And I just can't even express how much it means
fucking
to us.
Cool seeing our little tribe form, our Acid for Squares tribe, and like the people who are, the stands, the day one OG ride or dies for this program and what we're doing. And it means the world. Like, we are very much a little engine that could, and, a baby show in many ways. And
it's really cool finding our people.
Let's talk Valentine's Day. You did some research, right? You tried to find out the origin of Valentine's Day.
I did.
We wanted to know our pagan roots, as all our major holidays tend to have pagan roots.
All right. Are you ready?
Yeah, give it to me. What'd you find?
We're going to talk about Lupercalia.
Lupercalia.
All right, so before Valentine's Day became about love and romance, it was actually a pagan fertility festival called Lupercalia. It was celebrated in ancient Rome every February 15th. It was actually like the 13th to the 15th, something like that, but right around what we know as Valentine's Day. So it took place in the Lupercal caves in Palatine Hill, where priests known as the Luperci would sacrifice goats and dogs and then feast in honor of Lupa, the she-wolf. The she-wolf who, according to legend, raised Rome's founders Romulus and Remus. After the feast, they would cut strips of the sacrificed animal hides called the febua, like February?
Wow.
And they would whip young women, believing that it would promote fertility and ward off evil spirits.
Oh my God.
Even wilder was the love lottery, where men and women would randomly be paired up, sometimes just for the festival, but sometimes even longer.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. By the 5th century, Pope Gelasius I tried to Christianize the holiday by merging it with St. Valentine's Day. But its origins were definitely way more pagan.
Oh my God. See, I always thought Valentine's Day was like created by Hallmark. Like, I had like a very nihilistic perspective.
Yeah.
That's wild.
The she-wolf?
Yeah.
Like, what? That's crazy.
I also wonder if that's like the origin of like arranged marriages. I mean, that can't be, right?
I'm sure that was happening way before that.
Wild. Okay.
But it is pretty crazy.
Yeah, Lupercalia. That's cool. Okay, yeah. I did some research. Let me get my phone.
Ooh, tell us.
Yeah, I found something different. I mean...
Not she-wolf?
Not she-wolf. I found... Okay, so this is what I found, and it was more rooted in the holiday's name, Valentine's Day. Apparently it's based on Saint Valentine, a famous Christian martyr, also in Roman time. But Some of this is like it's myth and is debated, but I will tell the story. Okay, I will tell this version of the story. So in the 3rd century CE, the Roman Empire was still pagan, and Christianity was seen as a threat to imperial power. Emperor Claudius II, also known as Claudius the Cruel, ruled during this time and was engaged in multiple wars. So Claudius believed that unmarried men made better soldiers as they had no families or emotional attachments.
So they could be killed easily?
Exactly.
Oh my God.
So as a result, he banned marriages for young men, trying to prevent them from forming deep relationships that might make them reluctant to fight. So during this period, a Christian priest named Valentine secretly performed marriages for young couples in defiance of the emperor's decree.
Oh, that's cool.
I know, right? Sounds like a fucking movie. He saw marriage as a sacred union before God and refused to obey the laws. So Valentine helped Christian couples marry in secret despite knowing the risks. He also provided aid to persecuted Christians, which made him even more of a target for Roman authorities. Eventually, word got out about his actions and he was arrested and brought before Emperor Claudius II. While in prison, Valentine remained steadfast in his faith and even tried to convert Claudius II to Christianity. This, of course, angered the emperor, who ordered his execution. And before his death, Valentine allegedly performed a miracle by healing the blind daughter of his jailer, Asterius. According to legend, he developed a close bond with the jailer's daughter, and before his execution, he left her a note signed, "From your Valentine." And so this phrase is believed to be the origin of modern traditions of Valentine's Day love letters. That's pretty much it. Pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, that is very cool.
Yeah, so allegedly he was executed on February 14th. So
it was executed.
Yeah, on February 14th. And that's why the holiday is allegedly celebrated on Valentine's Day. But I also found that there were many Saint Valentines, so there is some confusion.
I also didn't know Saint Valentine was a martyr.
Yeah. Apparently he was eventually canonized by the church, and he's considered the patron saint of like love, fertility, marriage, and so on and so forth. So pagan roots, but I guess changed by Christianity over time, like many things, like many pagan holidays.
Many things.
Now that we've gotten our Valentine's Day history out of the way, you want to tell our love story? We are pausing in a future interjection because we realized we forgot a crucial part of the story, which was the beginning.
The beginning.
Which is how this all started, which starts with the fact that Tanya didn't believe in love.
I did not believe in love. I thought love was not real. I thought everybody was playing along and pretending they were in love to be cool. That's what I thought.
Who hurt you?
I don't know. I don't know why I felt like that, but I thought like you could love your friends, you can love your family, but I didn't think like romantic love was a real thing. I thought everyone was just lying and everyone was just settling and being like, yeah, totally in love. That's a thing. So I thought love wasn't real.
Ice Queen.
So, the Ice Queen. So one day, I had a reading with our Akashic Records reader, Anne, who we've mentioned many times on the show. And instead of asking for how do I draw the love of my life to me, I said, how do I meet my vibrational match? And she gave me the dove spell. I actually made a video about this a while ago, so if you want it, we'll link it at the bottom. And so it has 3 dove cards, and you write down everything you want in a partner. You leave it in your nightstand. You write down affirmations of how this person feels, how you feel being like in the presence of this person, being in love with this person. You keep that in your helpful people's corner. And then you have another one that says, I draw the love of my life easily and effortlessly to me. You keep it in your purse or in your wallet. You keep it with you. So 6 months later, after doing the love spell,
after this she-devil did some gray magic on me and my free will was completely violated, unbeknownst to me.
Talk about the day before Christmas.
Oh, well, I was on some fuckboy shit. I just had gotten out of a relationship and I was using the apps and it was getting very toxic. It's just a very toxic situation. You're kind of talking to people. The apps are the worst. Several people at the same time. It became emotionally messy. People are getting more invested than I was. Mm-hmm. And these were just very shallow relationships. And it was Christmas Eve. I was having dinner with my family and everyone was in a partnership and I was not. And I really had like a breakdown. I went to the bathroom and I literally like dropped to my knees. I've never been this dramatic. Maybe I am. I'm just not aware of it. But I went to the bathroom, dropped to my knees and was in the middle of dinner and was like, please. I deleted all the apps and I dropped to my knees and said, please just I'm done with this shit. I'm done with these fake relationships. These relationships that are just, they're not real. They're based on like, superficialities and attraction, and it's just not real. And I just prayed and said, please, like, bring me my spiritual partner. I'll do, I'm done. I'm begging you, bring me my spiritual partner. And the next day,
he was in line behind me at Starbucks.
Yeah, I wasn't even supposed to be in the car that got drove to Starbucks.
We were literally both just happened to be in Big Bear, which is like 3 hours outside of Los Angeles. And we happened to meet at the one Starbucks at the bottom of the hill at the exact time, and he was behind me in line.
It was a line out the door. I was with my parents.
Also my cousin's car wasn't working. It was my grandma's 90th birthday, so there are all these reasons I should not have ended up there at that exact time. He was supposed to go into another car, but somehow we both ended up there at the same time.
Tanya totally forgot she even did this fucking dove spell, and we started dating. And about like a year later, she found the card in her purse and was like,
in my nightstand,
and then broke it to me that she summoned me with gray magic.
Cody, I need to show you something. I was like, so I might have summoned you with a spell. I was like, but here's the thing. And I had him read everything on the card of what I wanted an ideal partner. And he goes, oh my God. He was like, well, thank you for thinking I'm all these things, but I also am all these things. It was exactly what I asked for is what I got.
I would have been more mad, but it was very complimentary, and to just accept it as truth and not be mad about it, I'd be like, well, this is a positive report card.
So the other part that you wanted to say was the ayahuasca ceremony.
I just want to add, that it was obvious that Tanya was being called to the medicine. So me, my mother, and my brother take her to her first ayahuasca ceremony. And, to my surprise, the first night of ceremony, ayahuasca's like, you love Tanya. You've always loved Tanya. Tell her you love her. So, and I thought it was kind of as a friend. The next day, I tell her I love her.
I also say I love you back.
Yeah, but
she's like, oh yeah, I love you.
Yeah, dude, love you. And then the second night, I have the single most religious experience of my entire life. I experience this I don't know if it's a past life death or what it is, but this brutal past life death, and I'm then pulled into a white void, bleeding, with these three cloaked beings next to me, and they present Tanya in a sort of this silhouette with her legs crossed, like almost like in a meditative position. They present this silhouette of her, and they say, the spiritual relationship you seek, you can have with Tanya if you choose. And then I come back to Earth, and a couple weeks later, we decide, Tanya asked me if we could do a mushroom ceremony together. And that takes us back to our original recording. Very quickly after that, we began dating. We really fell in love doing, I'd say after our first ayahuasca ceremony, you knew I worked with mushrooms, and you asked to do a mushroom ceremony together, just the two of us.
I'd done mushrooms like twice before or something like that, but not in a ceremonial setting. Cody and I decided to do mushrooms, and we're like, we're going to go to the forest. And so we get to the forest, Los Angeles National Forest, and it's pouring rain. It's pouring rain. By the way, this guy goes into a store and grabs 2 garbage bags, and he goes, we can use these. I'm like, I'm not doing mushrooms in the forest wearing garbage bags, but I thought it was cute. But then we looked at the Doppler radar, and we were like, oh, Joshua Tree, there's no rain there. So we drove another hour and a half to Joshua Tree, probably a couple hours before the sun went down. And we're really excited because I've never done mushrooms going in from day to night.
Yeah,
so
do not recommend doing it this way. Like going to a location and doing it that day. You should be camped out and set up. This was the first time I've ever done it this way, and the last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so we went into the middle of Joshua Tree. So we took the mushrooms and had a really beautiful journey. But then 5 hours later, it was dark, and 40-mile-an-hour winds started happening in Joshua Tree. It was so windy. We could barely walk. It was pitch black. We couldn't see. We didn't know where the car was. And so we ended up hiding behind this massive rock, massive rock. And we had we had a blanket, right? Your blanket?
Yeah, I had a blanket on us for the ceremony.
Oh,
blanket,
for the ceremonial
blanket. Yeah.
Yeah. So we sat on that and tucked ourselves behind a rock.
Okay, let's just get real weird with it real fast. So, like mushrooms, these are ancient tools for initiation and for rites of passage, and they're used as tools of initiation, spiritual initiation. You know, there's many cultures that reserve these for the priestly orders. We're just in a time now today where they are being essentially democratized in the West and removed from their shamanic and religious origins, but they still are those ancient tools. So we did this in a very ceremonial context. And so once the wind picked up and we literally had to hide underneath a rock from the windstorm, it was freezing cold under on this blanket. Tanya had like a full-blown awakening experience.
We are laying behind this like massive rock, 40-mile-an-hour winds. It's absolutely freezing because this is in May, so it's still very cold in the desert. And this is after the mushrooms have worn off. And all of a sudden, it feels like my body gets taken over by somebody else. And I look up at the sky and it starts raining numbers. And then the Kabbalistic tree of life appears in front of me.
But at the time, they called it...
I didn't know what it was called.
They said Care Bear.
Yeah, they called it.
That's how you interpreted it. Care Bear.
Stare at the Care Bear. It's how you get to the other dimensions.
Later on, she told the story to our sister-in-law, and she described it, and she said, Tanya, Kabbalah,
Care
not
Bear,
Care
Kabbalah.
Bear.
I know, it was really funny. We're like, thanks, Abby.
Yeah, so, okay, go ahead.
So anyway,
numbers are raining down.
Numbers are raining down. The Kabbalistic tree of life appears in the sky, and my body literally gets taken over by Kali. And at the time, I did not know who Kali was. Cody's hanging out next to me like he's just the fucking best. And he's there and he's calming me down. He's like, it's okay. He's holding space for me as it's happening.
Yeah, I'm out of the medicine. This is actually far out of the medicine. Maybe 5-6 hours afterwards that this all took place.
Yes, it doesn't make any sense.
In a complete trance. And I had seen enough people in trances that I knew what was going on. And I like to call it divine neutral. You just go neutral. So you're not reacting to anything and you're not messing their experience up. You know, she's just got to go through it. This is an initiation. You know, it's messy. So yeah.
And I kept saying Kalima. And that's why later, like, I realized that that's what this spirit was. So anyway, that happens. Absolutely insane. I can't.
We compartmentalize these stories. We don't think about them. We have to function as normal human beings. So
okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so
I know, dude, this is so awkward. I fucking forgot.
It's okay. I know.
It's so hard being this vulnerable on this fucking show.
So this like mountain appears in front of me and these papers start flying around it. And it's like, you have to sign new contracts. And I'm like, you're possessed by Kali. And I'm like, signing these new contracts. And they're like, don't have sex for 5 years and we will put a baby in you.
That was 5 years ago, Tanya.
That was,
and we're about to have kids. We've been having sex.
Sounds so crazy.
Fuck.
The thing that's so wild though about these experiences though is that if you talk to other people who have also had similar experiences, because I have recently talked to a bunch of women who have had this experience where Kali literally takes over their body.
Yeah.
Normally entities appear in front of you and you talk to them or they give you wisdom or whatever, but Kali, for some reason, she actually like possesses your vehicle and starts doing whatever that she does.
Yeah.
But only recently have I found out that this is like a normal thing and this is how she appears.
All right, what is your interpretation of Kali or that energy? Like, do you believe it's an archetype, it's a deity, it's purely like an ancient energy? I mean, what's your take after merging with her in the ceremony?
The thing is I believe that these like deities are just their energies. They're like energy patterns that we can work with in order to change something inside of us. It's like our normal pattern, and then we have this ancient deity pattern that comes in, and she's she's life and deth.
Yeah, she's the destroyer.
She's the destroyer. Dark. Yeah.
It was dark when you were channeling her. I was like, shit. I was trying to be like hold Spaceballs. I was like,
he was being cool. It
was intense though.
It was so intense. But anyways, yeah, I just feel like these deities are actually just energies, and we personify them as something else, through our lore. right? But I don't think that's what they actually look like. I think like Kali, where she's like standing on the guy's head and as the skulls or heads around her and she's like, ah! I think that's just a personification of what she like does.
I agree. It's because we're in the physical realm, so they take a physical form, or like it's almost like totemism or symbolism to communicate the energy pattern.
Yeah.
But when you're experiencing the energy pattern itself, it's almost comes through as like frequency or light codes. It's but I don't know. I say that and like I mean it's funny because you see those depictions of Kali with the tongue hanging out and the fucking skulls around the belt.
Yeah.
And it seemed like that.
I mean, I think that she's just able to merge with like the energy of women. I don't know if I've never heard of a man having an interaction with Kali before. I'm sure it's happened, but since I've told people this story, or even before I told them, women would tell me that Kali did the exact same thing to them.
Yeah, we hear this a lot in medicine.
In medicine, yeah, which is
mushrooms,
so wild.
Mushrooms specifically. We just had our two friends come by.
Was it with mushrooms?
Yeah, they were working with mushrooms.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting. That's right. Kali did the same thing with her.
And it was a couple thing, yeah.
Outside of that, this is how I knew that I could actually open myself to love you, because I was like, if this guy could go through that crazy shit and hold space for me and like be a rock, I'm like, no one else could have done that. They would have been calling the cops thinking I'm dying, like something like that. And it wasn't. Like, he just stood there he laid there and held space and allowed it to be. That was just the beginning.
That's when we fell in love. And we became an item after that. Actually, we told each other we loved each other, like for real.
Yeah, the next morning when we finally could see again.
Yeah.
We drove home.
That's my favorite part about the story. We hide under this rock in this windstorm for fucking, I don't know, 10 hours, like this 50 miles an hour wind. We're freezing. She's channeling Kali.
Pitch black.
Fucking trying to, it's so uncomfortable. I'm just holding her on top of me as, she has this cosmic experience, and the sun comes up and the wind dies down and the birds start chirping and we emerge out of the rocks and our car is like 50 feet from us.
It's literally right there. Fun times in Joshua
you
Tree.
Don't do mushrooms in a windstorm.
I thought it was great. It's a great story.
So, yeah. And, so this is, and actually the central thesis of what we're going to talk about here, because we're going to go into later stories, is going to be around plant medicine for couples and the power of a syzygy, a balance of the masculine and feminine. And this does not mean if you're a same-sex couple, typically there tends to be an energetic
masculine and feminine.
Yeah, masculine and feminine balance. But the syzygy of the masculine and feminine can change reality. I think there's a line in the Bible that says if two people want it on earth, it will be done in heaven. And it's very much that. And it's come to be the foundation of our spiritual practice is the balance and the merging of the masculine and feminine. And we believe that essentially the entire illusion of separation, ones and zeros, this illusion of duality, this binary is all around this distortion of the male and feminine energies.
Yeah, and the remerging, it's, we split from the one and now we have to find our way back in the game to remerge again, remerge the polarities.
Right. It's funny though, because religion can be very communal. And I think that's the great thing about it. Spirituality can be very individualistic. It almost to the point, I think the danger of non-denominational spirituality is it borders on a sort of narcissism. It's hard to find community. And so personally, when I was on my spiritual journey, there was a lot of it was very individualistic, despite working with large circles and different teachers. There was a certain degree of selfishness there. And once we started working together with these technologies and doing them simultaneously, it changed everything. The level to alter consciousness, change reality with these tools and techniques was so much grander and more superior when we would do it together versus doing it by yourself. And also the fascinating thing for me was when we would do these things together and have shared experiences where we were both simultaneously entering the same state of consciousness, where we're seeing the same beings or entities or having simultaneous experiences, that changed everything for me because I couldn't tell myself that
it was a
I was crazy. Yeah, that was a hallucination. Because there's always part of me that would always be like, well, what if you lost your fucking mind, dude?
So Cody and I go to Joshua Tree and I'm not feeling good. Like, I'm not feeling good. We go to do mushrooms
is the second
again.
time, and we did it properly.
We did it properly. We were camping.
We woke up the next day, and the way we like to do it is we camp, but then we'll hike deep into nature, far from everyone, and really immersed in nature and in isolation. But in this,
put down a blanket, do a whole thing, do a prayer,
full ceremony,
an opening,
build an altar, do it proper. But this time, and this happens to us every time, it's almost like the energy starts moving before the ceremony, and we often get sick before we even do the ceremony. Typically that day can be very rough, and they'll say that essentially whatever needs to move is going to come to the surface as you get closer. So Tanya's not feeling well, and she asked if we can do the ceremony in the tent.
Yeah, I just asked if we could at least take the mushrooms in the tent and then take a walk, because they usually take about 30 minutes to kick in, and we gave us enough time, I thought, to be able to get out into nature. So we do our little ceremony, we take the mushrooms, and we go start hiking.
We pick up our mesa, our traveling altar, throw it on our backs, and we start hiking.
Yeah, so we start hiking, and then all of a sudden I turn back and Cody's on the ground, and he's like, I can't go any further.
It's 15 minutes in, and we always work with a timer because it takes 30 minutes to start to transition into the space with mushrooms and about 45 minutes to fully plug in. And it's like 12, 13, 15 minutes.
If that. I mean, it's no time at all. And Cody's literally on the ground. Like, he looks like he's like a dying soldier. Like, go on without me.
It was scary.
And it was really like hot. So it was different because the last time it was freezing cold. This time it was so hot. And I was like, Cody, you have to come a little bit closer. We have to at least get under the shade of a rock. We cannot be in the middle of the desert in the sun.
I had never been in such a vulnerable position. So we do not work with these tools socially, really. Like, we do them ceremonially, and the main thing with working with this in a ceremonial context is set and setting. You know, so like not having a setting, it was scary. I mean, we were not that far from the campground, so I'm sure we were not far from people.
Yeah.
And I started going down. The reality was like the world was changing, and Tanya starts pulling me over to get again under a rock.
Rock in the shade.
Well, this is in the shade, like tuck under here and like let's just hunker down and plug in. The first thing I see. When you pulled me under, all right, and I was nauseous, and I put my hands on the ground, I lean forward, I'm feeling really sick, and I see 3 pairs of feet in front of me in robes.
Yours was that fast? Mine was
so
later.
So fast, Tanya. So fast. I see their 3 feet. I look up, and there are 3 beings. They look alien in robes in front of me. Their vibration is so strong. I literally cannot even hold a thought in my head. Like, it was like, I felt like I was being eviscerated. And in that moment, I panicked, and I was like, I can't do this. Like, whatever magic I know, I literally was just SOS trying to pull the ripcord. I was like, and I'm out. I'm like, done. And I'm like, out. I'm like, no, I am not doing this. I mean, I had never had beings appear in front of me, and also to the point where their vibration was so strong that I felt like I was dying. I mean, that was my first experience. So that was before I started experiencing past lives.
Okay,
so
actually, that's true because I started laying on the ground. My stomach was hurting so bad, and I felt, this is so crazy, but it felt like I was literally about to give birth, and I was like, walking out of the desert with a baby. This is weird.
Yeah, birth to yourself, right?
Well, so I'm laying there, and I look over at the rock, and first of all, there is a ET, like a blue ET, laying next to me with a feminine energy, and she's like, it's okay, you've done this before, it's okay, relax, you're fine, whatever. And I was like, oh God, which seeing her freaked me out. And then it felt like I gave birth, but what happened is this like rainbow appeared in the sky and like shot down at me, and I had like given birth to myself. And in that moment, that's when I saw the 3 ETs. So these 3 tall, thin blue beings in robes appear in front of me, and I'm like, oh my God, like plain as day. Like if Cody stood up and stood in front of me, that's how clear they were.
And I've never seen it that like in the space. Usually it's like in my mind's eye, I'm entering their space. This was like they were here and everything else was normal.
And also at the time, like Cody and I could not talk. So we were not telling each other about the experience that we were having to like where it could have, you know, triggered somebody else to have that experience. It was not that at all. Like we were having different experiences, not being able to talk to each other.
Did they say anything to you when you saw them?
No,
telepathically?
it was after the giving birth to myself.
Okay, so when they appeared in front of me, right, I see their feet in front of me. I like listen, pan up. I look up. I see them. I pull the ripcord and I go, I am out. Get me out of here. I do not want, like, I'm done, right? Please, like an SOS, right? To any ancestors, guides, everything we work with, the medicine, please pull me out. And I got pulled out, but it was not out of the experience. It was more like I was in the driver's seat and I got pulled into the back seat and my body got taken over. And this is one of the earlier times I had gone into a channeled state. This was, my body got taken over. Next thing I know, I sit up. All I know is this, the impression I got from them, or I don't know how it came through, if it was an impression or telepathy, I can't remember, but it was that they were there to check on our progress. That's all I got. Nothing else.
On our relationship, right?
Well, what ended up happening is I freak out. I get pulled into the back seat. So I'm now observing my body moving and speaking in a language that I've never heard. This was the first time I had spoken what I now have heard is called light language. That's what Daryl Anka has told us, a precursor to channeling.
This is the first time I ever spoke like language too. It's literally the same thing.
Yeah, so it starts speaking in sort of these tongues, this very ancient sounding language. And next thing I know, I am transported and in front of a council. And this is hard to fully communicate because I was in the back seat here. So there is somewhat of detachment, but I'm aware what's going on and I'm sitting and they're elevated, like almost on like a second story, maybe 8, 9, I don't know. They're beings in cloaks. They were a council. I begin a process of these like a life review. The first thing, wow, I haven't talked about this in so long. The first thing that starts happening is in another language, I started speaking to them about my stomach, how much it hurts. And I'm asking them to come through in a different way that my stomach hurts so bad. And the next thing that starts happening is they start talking to me about our relationship. And they start flashing through all these different past lives. And I'm seeing different past lives with us, and I am speaking the language of the past life.
But this was happening to us at the exact same time.
That's what I was going to say. I'm speaking French, and I'm hearing you speak French.
It sounds like French. Who knows if that's what it was?
Who knows what the fuck it was?
But literally, he and I were experiencing like different lifetimes together, and we would click over into another like way of seeing ourselves and seeing each other and speaking a different language, and then it would shift again. It would be in like another time period, another body, another whatever. It was over and over and over again. Like Cody and I were like on the ground, like what is happening?
It was incredibly painful. The whole experience. It was wild. An ass kicking of a lifetime. And it was so funny because I remember distinctly like passing the buck, like them confronting me on something, and in whatever language, I'm like, talk to her,
talk to her,
like
about
blaming you, like what an asshole. I don't even know what it was about. It was something about. I mean, now I understand. It was about us working together and like collaborating together and being a harmonious partnership. You and me are both directors. We have identical identities.
That was the hard part for sure.
And we because we have the same exact identity, we couldn't necessarily like work together. Yeah. And it took a lot and many years of doing ceremonial work together just like this. Obviously after this we kind of formalized this work. We never took this shit and went for a walk. We
stopped going into the middle of the desert and doing mushrooms after this one.
We sit in front of that was the last time I think we worked with it outside. I think we've tried actually and the medicine didn't work.
It didn't work. Yeah. It was saying it's done.
It always was in a salau, a maloka, in a ceremonial space. How did that end? That experience for you?
I don't really remember, but I do remember it like from there on. Anytime we did ceremony or anything like that, we were constantly getting messages about like merging.
It's hard for us to talk about all of this stuff. And
I mean, a lot of the stuff we've never really.
Everyone who's listening, this has been so hard to be so public and transparent about this stuff, but we want to share it. We think it's important because we feel that once we share it, other people can share it. And once we as a people can start to move our awareness into these collective experiences, this is how the world changes. And this is how we start to get essentially spiritual disclosure. Because right now it's like, people don't even know that this is even possible. This is the worst part about this shit. If we were going to make this shit up, we wouldn't say we were on psychedelics when it happened, because it immediately impeaches us. It's like, oh, well, you were having a hallucination.
Right. But anybody that knows.
Yeah. If you've had these experiences, it is not a hallucination. No. It is more real than real life. We're talking about having shared experience. After that ceremony in Joshua Tree, which really catapulted us into having a shared spiritual practice, we started taking one-on-one ceremonies very seriously. And one thing I would like to say is me and Tanya do not sit with medicine all the time. We're so public facing. People think we sit with psychedelics.
It's like never.
It's fucking never. We're talking about like a handful of times a year. It's
in not the past like 6 years that we've been together or something like that.
Yeah, we have a lot of disappointed friends and a lot of disappointed teachers because they work with this stuff all the time. And it is very important for us not to do it all the time. We need
integration and grounding also. There's no way we could have built this if we were doing psychedelics all the time.
Yeah, we're very busy. We like to work. We like to create art. And we feel we're very nervous to get completely swept up into this world. But the experiences are so life-changing. And we spend most of our time integrating from them. And honestly, this is part of our integration, sharing them publicly. So once me and Tanya start doing one-on-one ceremonies, we would start to work on our intimacy.
Actually, Acid for Squares, our whole like company, the design of our set and everything like that actually came from these like forts that we would make. We'd make these really cool forts in our living room, and we put up actually even the LED lights we have on the ground. We had those in there. We had lasers, and we would, come back together because it would really happen when we were feeling really disconnected from each other. It'd be at a time where we were working so much that it would be like we would stop work, make dinner, eat food, go to bed, and rinse and repeat. And we'd wake up. Yeah. And we didn't have any time together, and we were feeling, when you're in a relationship, if you don't really spend quality time with each other, you get disconnected.
Yeah.
And it's really important to be able to connect again. And so that's what we would do with these ceremonies.
Yeah. And that's one of the most, in terms of these medicines, people talk, oh, they heal anxiety and depression and PTSD, and they're good for palliative care and end-of-life care. One of the best things these medicines can do is heal and strengthen and grow relationships. And it is probably the greatest tool.
If done ceremonially. I'm sure other ways too, but really, really, if it's done ceremonially, it's like another level.
Well, there's you really have to know how to process and work through them, but there's no data point or scientific study that's ever going to be able to quantify how the benefits on a culture, on a people, on a family, on a couple of using these compounds to strengthen relationships. My family, we are so much stronger from working with these tools ceremonially than we've been. And when we don't, we have a lot more problems. So we would do these one-on-one ceremonies, and we started to, people call it sex magic. We don't call it sex magic. To us, it's more, we're just taking the shamanic tools that we've learned and we're putting them into practice. So one of the things is the main tools of if you're being intimate with your partner, working with medicine or not, is you keep constant eye contact. And that is the most important thing, is staying connected and seeing the person and not getting lost on the body or the sex or the physicality of the experience, but seeing the person beyond everything and all the illusions, right?
It's kind of like when you look into somebody else's eyes and you're like, oh, you're in there and I'm in here, and you're looking in deeper. It's like you look deeper into like the soul of the person and you kind of get lost in it.
Right. And we would essentially try to be intimate with each other and stay completely connected with each other. Now, these were in the early days of our relationship, and Tanya I would find that she would look away from me at sometimes.
Yeah. Well, so as a woman, women it's just part of the programming of growing up as a woman. And I'm sure other people have experienced this too, but is that there's always sexual trauma, no matter what. No matter what, it's just being a woman, especially if you're a straight woman dating men. It's something that happens. And so there's a lot of stuff that ends up coming up. And when you're doing these sorts of ceremonies, you're really opening yourself up to be able to find where the wounds are coming from or these traumas are coming from. And that's the whole point of them.
Right.
So in these moments, if I would look away or something like that, Cody be like, what's the thought? What's going on?
Why did you look away from me?
Yeah.
And there's a very specific moment where she looked away from me and I said, why did you look away from me? And she said, I'm scared. And I said, why are you scared? And she said, that you're going to leave me. And, in that moment, I remember I'm very emotional, grabbing you and being like, I'll never leave you and I'm never leaving you and I'll always be here. And I remember in that moment when I was just speaking, telling you, I'll never leave you. I'll never leave you. I promise. I'm always going to be here for you. And in that moment, I watched you change. I watched your face change. I watched you change to all these
different archetypes and different women. And
it was so weird, Tanya, and it's so creepy to say publicly, but I swear I watched you turn into a little girl, like your younger self. Mm-hmm. I watched you turn into this Indian woman. I watched you turn into my mother.
Into an old woman.
I watched you turn into my sister. Mm-hmm. I watched you turn into an old woman, yes.
Yeah.
And I watched you morph, and I couldn't tell in the moment. Because now we're in this like joint trance where we're now locked into each other and I'm watching something I've never seen happen in my entire life. And I watch you go to all these women. And at first I'm like thinking that it's a past life thing. I'm seeing you in past lives. And then next thing I know, when I start seeing you changing into my mother and my sister, and I went, oh no, this is like, you are like the cosmic woman. You are the ancient woman. You are every woman.
It was just like the archetype of the woman was coming through and like they're of the feminine, and Cody was just perceiving it in that moment because it is a joint trauma with all women. So it's almost like so when we do ceremonial work like this, it's, there's a thing where you can end up healing things for your family or for your friends, or have things come up where you can like try to process energy or stuff for them. So in that moment of, processing the trauma, then it's almost like it energetically aligned me with all these feminine beings like in your life, past lives, other just women in general. And it seems like it was kind of like showing the trauma that is of like being left or.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what it was communicated to, because we're sitting there, tears streaming down our face. I'm watching you change into every woman. And the message for me was very clear that essentially, everything used to be one. And the first split that happened when the one became the two before it became the many, that is what we know as gender and the masculine, the feminine energy, right? Mm-hmm. And that split, it was very clear to me in the moment, the positive charge, the masculine energy is what left the feminine. And that almost this original wound was that the male energy left the feminine, and that wound of being left was the women still held. And it was showing me like a male energy coming back and sort of this physical dominance, and the women's hold this spiritual dominance. And when the male energy came back, the woman was very guarded, and it was dark, but it was showing me that the male energy then abused its physical dominance to really control and to push itself on to the woman. It was messed up. But back to you and me, and back to where us being in this trance and tears streaming down my face, I'm seeing you change into all these different women. Didn't you see me change as well?
I did, moment? Yeah. I saw you change. You changed into this like Native American looking guy with long black hair. Remember you had a vest on. I don't know why.
I don't know what a vest.
I don't know why you had a vest. It was like a jean vest.
Was it a cool vest? It was a jean vest. So specific.
Anyway, I saw you change as well. It wasn't like flipping through a bunch of different beings.
You weren't flipping, it was morphing.
Yeah.
It was morphing. It was like you were morphing in and out.
Yeah.
It was so fluid. It wasn't like a flip. It was, you literally were just morphing. It was insane.
Well, it's also interesting because you're talking about the masculine leaving the feminine, but also if you look at like Gnosticism or something like that, Sophia the goddess of wisdom, who's there's God, and then God creates eons, and the eons are these pairs, right? So masculine and feminine pairs, and one of them is Sophia, the goddess of wisdom, and she created. You're supposed to create with your counterpart, with the masculine and feminine counterpart, but she created by herself. And then she created a son they call basically the demiurge. Because he wasn't created with Sophia's counterpart, he couldn't see the other gods. So he believed he was God and he was the almighty creator of everything. And Sophia realized that she had created something that wasn't positive.
Crazy.
And then the story is that he created Earth, and the God of the Old Testament is actually the demiurge.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So the God of the Old Testament, where it's you shall obey me, you shall whatever, where it's really gnarly.
Right. Thou shalt not. Yeah.
So that one, the Gnostics believe that is this evil being that was created, whatever. Sophia had to come down and actually give her divine spark of God into Adam and Eve. He got upset and realized that humans now had more power because they had God's spark inside of them. So he made them forget who they are.
That's wild.
Yeah. And there's all these archons and stuff that are, jealousy, greed, all the 7 deadly sins basically that haunt humans. And before you can leave this place, you have to ascend all of those things. So, or you'll be trapped in reincarnation.
I always think about 2 things. I think about suffering. Mm-hmm. Why is there so much suffering down here? Why would any almighty, all-intelligent creator create this world where it is inherently illusory and there's so much suffering? And
but we do learn through suffering. It's the greatest teacher that we have.
But you can also learn through love, and love is a greater teacher. It's a greater teacher. I mean, any parent could tell, you look at the generations before us, how they taught versus the newer generations. True, it's obviously moving to love. But the other thing that makes me wonder, which always made me wonder sort of that hypothesis around this being somewhat of an accident or some sub-dimensional beings or race created this plane. It's not the highest rungs. What makes me wonder about that is there's an intervention happening. Whether you're talking about disclosure with ETs.
Yeah, channels and everything talk about this.
That's what I'm fucking talking about. How many times when we have our experiences it's an intervention. They're stepping in.
They're
we are calling
problems.
them in using your free will. And they're hey, this is what needs to be done. Da, 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 da. I'm what the fuck?
And all these other people around the world are getting the same messages. I mean, look at ancient texts. They've been getting the same messages that humanity is really screwed up. I mean, look at even when the story of Jesus, Jesus comes here, he's a good dude and he knows how to do all this magic and stuff. And everyone they end up killing him because he's a good dude and he understands he's become an ascended master basically.
That's what I'm saying is why a need for intervention? Why a need for angels? Why a need for any of this? I don't know. That's always what you just said is fascinating to me. And when I contemplate those stories, I think why the suffering and why a celestial intervention? Why when people talk about the shift or breaking the wheel of karma, who created the wheel of karma? Is it really, because it seems a little more twisted than just this is, I know you and me believe this is a divine game.
We believe
that we made.
School, yeah.
Right. But I just think it's a fascinating hypothesis. And to go back to our story, after we had that experience together, that changed everything for me. Mm-hmm. We did that ceremony. It showed me, I really started to understand that we talked about that earlier ceremony where I went in front of the council and they were and I was deferring to you. After that experience where you became every woman, I started to be okay, what the fuck am I doing wrong? Because something that was very serious and you were very hurt. You couldn't even look at me. And I just got shown this ancient archetype, right? So after that, I started being I need to change something. And I'm still directing and screenwriting and doing my own thing. You're doing your own thing. We start collaborating on our first show together, Awaken Underground, right? You direct, I host, and something was off.
And Jeff produced.
And Jeff produced, our producer back there. But something was off. We actually tried to do an episode about this very conversation right here. we tried to talk about it publicly. And
oh my God, that's right. It was going to be like the last episode or something, which is so crazy.
Yeah, and that came from doing a ceremony, and they said that I got the message, Tanya, like she has to be on the show. And we tried to do it, and you started to tell your story, and I started silencing you because I was so insecure about being vulnerable with this stuff. Yeah. I started because
I was talking about the woo. I was talking about seeing ghosts and spirits and all that sorts of stuff, and that's not what Awakened Underground was. Awakened Underground was the science of psychedelics.
But it was that because I was too scared to. I didn't want to hurt the movement of the psychedelic renaissance by talking about the woo and all the craziness and have people be like, "Oh, that shit makes you lose your mind."
Oh my God, Jeff was there. I was crying. I
cried,
left
ran
the
off the
stage. I was
she cried
I'll be in the bathroom.
and left, and the episode never aired.
Never aired. I wonder what that is.
That began a series of probably several years of us trying to right the ship around our partnership creatively. We began working on a TV show called Genesis. It's an animated TV show, Rick and Morty style, with psychedelics, is with the producer of The Simpsons. I was working on it for a while prior, and Tanya came on and just like made the show so much better, transformed it.
Cody and I go to Belize for my birthday. So we're there, and our Akashic Records reader, Anne, gives us...
You'll meet at some point.
You'll meet at some point. She'll be on the show. But she tells us to read this book, the Magdalene manuscripts. And at the time, we didn't really know much about it. It says Alchemy of Horus and the Sex Magic of Isis, right? So we didn't really know what it was. So we get it there. Cody's reading it like religiously every single day. Every morning he's reading this book. And he's, then we're reading it and he's like telling me what's going on. And basically it's talking about how Mary Magdalene was a part of the sex magic cult of Isis. And Jesus was a part of the cult of Horus. And he needed to be, in order to, right, do what you actually tell the thing.
Yeah, so it's a channel text. So that reading with that reader, Akash reader, was a gift from someone. And we went in and she said, read this book. So we start reading the book. It's a channel text from Magdalene, from like the oversoul of what we know as Mary Magdalene. And it's really short. And she essentially is like, what you think of me and what you think of the one you know Christ.
Yeah, you have it all wrong.
Is like pretty wrong, but I'm going to tell you like the truth. And she pretty much says like, I was the head
priestess of the cult of Isis.
Of the temple of Isis. Mm-hmm. And she's like, and we practice sex magic. Tells this story about being at like a watering well and seeing Yeshua, Christ, and that
with his mom,
and that she has the ability to see into the field in auras. And the way it appeared to her at this time is she could see seals, that there's different like seals. It seems like the way she explains it is that they're almost energetic imprints of frequencies from either certain spiritual practices, lineage, or archetypal energy patterns like deities that are imprinted upon the individual. So she says she sees this dude and she sees into his field and he has all these seals, and she sees a seal of that he's missing the seal of Isis. And she explains the story. It's kind of similar to what we just talked about, where they look at each other and they start seeing some past lives and they have this connection. There was no relationship there really, other than she felt that she was called to train him. She was his teacher. So they talk, and she becomes his teacher and teaches him sex magic from the temple of Isis. Mm-hmm. And she teaches him a very, very, very simple, very, very, very specific technique that me and Tanya learned, and trained for about a week. Yeah. Do you want to?
But also outside of the technique, there is a thing in here which is really cool. And I actually want to read it. I do want to read it.
We do this for everybody. So anyone that's like, I want to do a spiritual initiation with no medicine.
So it's a spiritual initiation. And basically you have like 2 cups and one is filled with water.
Copper cups.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just any cup though for here, but I got you copper cups.
Thank you. Yeah. I love you.
1 cup is filled with water. The other is empty. If you wish, you could add flowers and incense to make it a ritual, aesthetically pleasing as you desire. The ritual is simple and simply an external reflection of something that is occurring deep within oneself. And indeed, this internal choice can be made without the need for external ritual at all. For the ritual without internal choice is worthless. For this ritual, you will light a candle and speak these words. Spirit of all life, be my witness here. For the sake of my own elevation and the elevation of all life, I shall strive to be harmless to myself and all others. Then it says, while holding the glass or container of water in the right hand, you pour the water into the glass of the left hand, and say these words and seal this action. By the pouring of this water, I signify the transfer of my sacred waters of life from the mundane to the sacred. Spirit of all life, be my witness here. Amen, amen, amen. So we do this ritual.
Outside of that initial initiation, very simple, very simple. And we've been taught so many crazy things, and that is the shortest and simplest one we've ever been taught. And it's very powerful. So the next technique that she teaches is this practice of gathering energy in your perineal. It's your root chakra.
It's called the Ra channel opening.
Right. So gathering this energy in your root, really just like cleansing the same way, like your pelvic floor. And then sort of first they have you practice pulling it up to the top of above your head and back down to the root, back above your head, right? That's the first part of the technique. Once you've sort of mastered that technique of, we call it flossing, kind of your energy centers, right? The second part is this caduceus opening. So you visually, and you're visualizing it, and you're also sort of like feeling it go through, you visualize a caduceus forming, which is twin serpents rising from your root chakra and crossing through every chakra until it gets to your third eye chakra. Okay. So
which is a chalice,
right? Which is a chalice. And we've seen this in the medical symbol, right? Is one of the most ancient symbols for medicine is the caduceus, right? We see it everywhere. Talk about like Valentine's Day, fucking pagan holiday that we don't even realize because it's been essentially appropriated and removed of its spirituality. The caduceus is everywhere. You see it for hospitals and ambulances. It is an ancient symbol of medicine. Well, apparently, that's for good reason. So once you master this flossing technique, you then visualize the caduceus rising up and it crossing through your chakras and landing, meeting in your third eye. And your third eye in the center of your forehead is a chalice.
The Holy Grail.
Is the Holy Grail. That's what they call it. The third part of the exercise, after you do the flossing and the caduceus, the third part is the Ra opening, which you visualize in your solar plexus a fire, a sun, forming in your solar plexus that grows brighter and brighter and brighter as you chant Ra, 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 Ra.
Over and over and over and over again.
First you do it out loud, then you do it internally, and this, as you're chanting Ra and the energy starts spreading in your solar plexus, you visualize it going up, 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 past your heart, through your throat chakra, through the chalice in your third eye that the serpent's tongues are on, and to your crown chakra, to the heavens.
Basically, what it says is that the Ra channel was created by ancient Egyptians that was a perfectly contained channel to God. And that there are outside forces that are constantly trying to get into channels. That's why people will get information that could be harmful to them if they're going through other channels. So the Ra channel is this like ancient protected channel that nothing can even touch. It's so strong, that was created with Jesus. That's what the whole thing was, is that he helped create this channel, which they also talk about.
Oh, shit. Yes, it does say that in the book. He says that he
after they do all this stuff, he creates the channel. It's the exact same thing as the Gnostic text. It's the same thing, is that they believe that Jesus came and because he was an ascended master or whatever, learned everything he needed to. He created a portal that could get past all the archon to get back up to the pleroma.
Pleroma?
Pleroma,
What's the pleroma?
That's the
like
main,
the Godhead?
The main spot where it's God, and then it has the eons that come off of it.
Whoa.
So,
I want to add to that. In the book, it says that essentially she says that he knew of this mission. He had like a sacred mission.
Oh, really?
Yes, that he knew that he had to be killed by such a horrible way, in such a dense pocket of this reality, and hold the frequency of love.
Oh, that's right.
To create the channel for the suffering that is so dense. That's how he did it. And it's crazy because in the book, if I'm not mistaken, she says he knew it. They grieved about it. And that when they talk about like Judas or whatever, the guy that the disciple that ratted him out, that
he knew.
that he told him, you're the one that has to tell them to rat on me. That it was not like he betrayed him. He was like, hey dude, you have to go rat on me.
And
like,
also
this is how it has to go down.
Also the whole thing with Magdalene is that she had to be kind of like the final key to this entire thing because he had to raise his Ka. And the Ka is the energy that's formed through sex magic. It's through semen retention.
Seminal retention.
So it's through seminal retention. So basically they would practice the sex magic, which there's like all these different things you're supposed to do, but you like retain everything and it builds your Ka. And so that was what literally enabled him to be able to reach the heavens, which is so crazy cool. And create this like portal. And so so the Raw channel is basically this like portal that goes to God, perfectly protected, whatever.
Right. So me and Tanya start practicing this, and we're gunslingers, right? So we have teachers and we do sermons, but we hear things, we try it. If it works, it works. And if it doesn't work, that's it. It doesn't work.
Okay, but the coolest part of this, actually it's not the coolest part, but it is a cool part. So this is my birthday, right? And so we have a dear friend, Aaron, that lives in Placencia in Belize. So he comes by, he's a yogi master, and he comes by and goes, Tanya, for your birthday, I want to show you this ancient yogi practice, whatever, right? So we're sitting outside, I'm like, cool, Aaron, this is great. The three of us are there, and he starts teaching it, and we're like, oh my God, it's the same exact thing from the Magdalene manuscripts.
Identical.
And we were about to do it that night. So it was almost like Spirit like brought us like somebody that knew how to do it. And talked about it in a different way.
We were going to learn this and do it. But we had luckily brought the book, trained a week, and then the day of her birthday, right before the ceremony, he shows up and teaches us. The only difference was instead of Ra, they used the word Agni. Right?
Because it's a yogi thing.
Is that fire it means?
I'm not sure, but it's a yogi thing. So it's this different way of doing the exact same
different traditions, same
crazy
technique.
Yeah. So anyway, so Cody and I, we end up doing a ceremony that night, and at the very end, and also like nothing happened. It was no experience whatsoever.
We were sick the entire time.
Yeah, the entire time.
We were in virtually both of us in the fetal position, just miserable and moaning.
And we were ready to just like go to bed and just go to sleep. We were like so over it. And then Cody goes, "Wait, but we're supposed to do the thing from the Magdalene manuscripts, the Raw opening." And I was like, "Oh, I like didn't even want to do it." But we ended up doing it, and we sat across from each other, and we did the whole technique, bringing the serpents up through each of the things, reaching the fire, going up to, God.
We chanted Ra.
We chanted Ra, 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 Ra. So Cody and I are not talking about what our experience is as it's happening. But afterwards, and both of us, by the way, once we're done, we both have tears like pouring down our face.
Oh yeah, I mean, we have our eyes closed. We're doing this. I mean, we had the same exact experience. My experience was I literally saw it like hands, like like my eyes are closed. It looked like open the roof of like my vision and just light shone down. Do you know what I'm saying?
That was exactly what mine was. It was that like hands came through the darkness and started like pulling it around, and then finally like popped it open, and it was this glass dome with plants and animals and like all these things, and it was just pure bliss, and the sun was shining in, and it like never in my life have I like believed in a heaven. I believe in an afterlife in the sense of like going back to source and becoming one again and like going on to a different life. That's what I believe. This was quite literally heaven. And Cody had the same exact experience. It was pure bliss. And a lot of times that we've noticed is that even if stuff is not repeatable, it is sometimes Spirit will give you something like that to make you realize what you are actually doing when you do something. So it's giving you this huge experience to be like, so now you've had an understanding of what's actually going on. Now you know how to do this technique. And every time you're doing it, this is what you're connecting to.
Yeah.
And it was quite literally the most beautiful experience of our lives.
We simultaneously went into this ecstatic state. To get to those states of consciousness, there is always so much suffering and purging and pain that has to happen to get there. It is truly excruciating. We question often why we even do this work, but always the end result's so beautiful. It was the cleanest, quickest channel I've ever. It was just like whoop.
And
we were there.
And this was really funny because we literally we felt like we had spirit yelling at us, being like, merge, merge, merge. And we're like, why does it keep yelling at us to merge? Like, what does this even mean? And so that was the point where we really actually decided Cody brought me on to co-create Genesis. And it's so interesting because our first project together is called Genesis, which is the beginning, which is so funny.
That was the thing, is I wanted the created by credit and she was an executive and we weren't equal. And once we did this and we went to heaven, whatever it was, I mean, it was just turquoise and blue. It was so beautiful.
Pure bliss.
It was bliss, and we both sat in it, and this song came on by Soul Seppi called Enter One.
Which we never had heard before. We don't know where this song came from.
Yeah, it was just Enter One, and the lyrics are so beautiful. We actually walked down the aisle to it in our wedding, and this song came on. We have no idea how it got on our playlist, and it's all about, you know, becoming one, and an emotional time. That's crazy. But we opened our eyes and we looked at each other and we're both crying and the song's playing.
And Enter One starts playing.
And we said, we agreed to, you know, I was like, Tanya, I want to be co-creators on Genesis together. Like, I want it to be us. I want everything to be equal. And, you know, Genesis never got made. The strikes happened, and this show and this studio, A4S Studios, birthed out of the strikes. But that was when we became Acid for Squares.
It was the genesis of Acid for Squares.
Yeah, because we created that as Acid for Squares, as an entity.
So Acid for Squares is created because of sex magic and the cult devices.
Yeah. And I mean,
and other things.
And that's pretty much been it. And that's been the most amazing experience I've ever had in my life, you know? And it's funny, like, life is such a bitch, and and, you know, been going along for so long and have these dreams and all these things and move from New York to LA to pursue these dreams. And it's so funny now. It's like, you know, Silly Rabbit, like it's been a love story all along. Like our love and our relationship and co-creating with you with no ego and identity. I mean, Tanya, there's not even a directing credit for this show. Like we literally just surrendered our identity as directors and everything to co-create equally, and just like, we don't give a fuck. And
everything is Acid for Squares.
We're Acid for Squares forever. I love you with all my heart, and I'm so honored to do this with you, and like all the work we've done. I know how fucking vulnerable we have to be to share these stories, and I hope those who listen to this, I hope it means something to you. And I hope you can hear that despite the craziness and the woo and how fucking ADD and far out we are, like, we mean this from the bottom of our hearts. We wouldn't put ourselves out here like this if it wasn't true. We gain nothing from it, but you give me the courage to be completely vulnerable, and I wouldn't be able to do anything or any of this without you. Like, I love you.
Same, I love you.
I love you with all my heart, and I'm really excited for this journey with you. Excited to have a kid with you this year. To try to have a kid this year. And and I love what we're building.
Yeah.
And, you know.
And the reason why we also talk about this stuff, and we are talking about this stuff pretty vulnerably, is that we want people to know that there are other things out there that are possible, and just things that we've tried that have worked. And we wanted to share this with you because this book was so important in our lives. And it's so interesting because Blue of Earth, she recently just posted this exact book on her Instagram and was like, oh my God, this book. So other people are reading it and having the same experience. So I would definitely suggest picking this book up.
So an interesting thing is Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, if you know him, which he teaches this technique. He's a doctor, and he scientifically proves all these radical transformations that come from it. This is an ancient technique. And one of the things with the Caduceus, the two serpents, is it's the anthropomorphication. Did I get the word right?
Sure.
You're anthropomorphizing essentially a two-dimensional rendering of the energy pathways going through the center. So your field, the way the energy field works is it looks like an apple, right? An apple is a physical representation of an organism's energy field. So in the middle, where the core is of the apple, is the center spiral, right? So when people do chakras, which mean energy wheel, that's a 2-dimensional rendering of a 3-dimensional spiraling of energy. So when you do these ancient techniques of these 2 serpents, I mean, we know now it's a spiral of light going up the middle, and you're opening these pathways and these channels to connect the physical to the spiritual.
I do want to say that if anybody listening is interested in doing the raw channel opening, a couple years ago, I made a little JPEG of step-by-step on how to do it. So if you reach out to us by email, which you can find on our website at assetforsquares.com, or if you reach out to us on Instagram, they can DM us. I will send that over to you so you can check it out. I would definitely suggest picking up the Magdalene manuscripts, but it's nice to have a visual representation of exactly how to do it because I'm a visual learner, so I'm just going to assume everybody else is as well.
Yeah, and I want to speak a little bit about like one of our higher intentions of sharing this story is it has to do with a syzygy, a sacred syzygy, sort of a spiritual covalent bond, and the importance and the power. If you have your spiritual partner, what you could do together. And, you know, and it seems to me after working with you, Tanya, for so long spiritually, that women seem to have a spiritual strength in that more natural predilection to spirituality, emotionality, intuition.
Surrender also. That's probably why, because
right.
The feminine is the receiving energy. So
right. And the male, we seem to have a little bit more of a superiority in the physical. And, you know, before I met Tanya, when I was doing this work, like I definitely had a little bit of like an ego about it. I really loved, you know, practicing shamanism and holding space. And then we came together and, you know, everything changed. It was more like holding the physical space and, you know, so you could really channel more. And it's not like I don't have the capability, but
you channel as well.
But you're so effortless in it. And the medicine these ceremonies have told me it has a lot to do with the feminine but all the men out there, like, if you have a partner, like, listen to her intuition, like, listen to her and learn.
Female intuition is a real thing.
It's a real thing. And there's if you decide you want to walk this path, whether it's a spiritual practice and it's just breath work and meditation and yoga, sure. You want to go into nature together, it's stronger together. It's stronger together. You know, as screenwriters, the thesis of every movie is stronger together. And that is the central thesis here. And
I also don't want to leave out our like friends and stuff that are gay, because that is not just man and woman. It is masculine and feminine. So this is a reminder for everyone.
There's some magic here, and the altar of a relationship is a metaphor for the greater disconnect of the whole. And if you really can find greater unification within your relationship and greater connectivity, especially using these tools, I mean, you're talking about bending reality and most importantly, expediting your soul's growth. And that seems to be really the most important thing here. Using the altar of a relationship to grow your soul is, there's no greater spiritual tool. All right, T, that was a fucking lot.
That was a lot. Okay, so if you're still with us after all that craziness.
Jesus, Tanya.
So we are going to be putting up our wedding video. We did a last minute wedding on 11/11. We decided on a Friday that we were going to get married for insurance purposes. And our engagement anniversary is 11/11 because 11/11,
Which, of course, after doing this, we went fucking 11/11 2 pairs of twin serpents, right?
So of course, right? Of course.
But this was a last minute thing. All of our friends and family that were not there, if you're listening to this, please know it was last minute and we plan to have a bigger wedding later.
But that's also why. So if you watch the video, you can tell it's very last minute. We did it in the studio. I don't know how we even got that many chairs in here, but we got married in front of our sign. And I mean, the audio quality, which we didn't even have like proper audio because we were such in a rush.
We didn't think we were going to share it with the world.
No, we
were
didn't.
It was for insurance purposes. We I'm on a writing contract. I have that good WGA insurance. Me and Tanya decided 5 days before our anniversary, like we were like, okay, we're going to try to have a kid next year. And so, yeah, on 11/11, we just threw together this little wedding, and we figured, why not? It's Valentine's Day. Share it with the world. Share it with our tribe. And yeah,
it's a way. Our vows are very, very vulnerable.
I can't believe we're putting this out there. I mean, I can't believe we're putting this whole fucking episode out there. I already feel like we're naked and running through the streets with this TV.
Now we're more naked running through the streets.
I'm like, when you think you can't get more naked and vulnerable. But the one thing, we apologize for the bad audio. We hope it means something to you and it makes us feel closer to you and closer to us. And just know we made the show for all of you. We share all of this for all of you because we feel like all ships rise together. We're all connected.
And we were able to do so much of the stuff we've done on our, awakening path, our spiritual journey, our life path in general, because other people shared what they learned and what they experienced. And it was so meaningful and valuable to us to hear other people talk about it. So we didn't feel alone. We felt validated in the things that we were experiencing. And so we really hope, that's our hope, is that, something that we said maybe sparked something in you that you're like, oh my God, I've had the same experience or thought the same thing. And you feel a little less alone. And because we're all a bunch of humans figuring it out, right?
Yeah. And so, happy Valentine's Day from Acid for Squares. Tanya, I love you with all my heart.
I love you, boo.
This is crazy.
We love you, Jeff.
Yeah, we love you, Jeff. And if you're still with us, subscribe, rate, comment, please send this episode to your mother, whatever.
Your mom. Maybe don't send it to her mom.
Send it to her. Let's turn this bitch to 11. Look, most of the shit we just talked about, we will be censored for. And YouTube will shadow ban us. So share it. We're constantly put in this position where are we not going to talk about this anymore? Because
we just take classes for YouTube and all this stuff.
They view it as glorifying drug use.
But anyway, we needed to interject here for just a moment. As we are giving love to everyone else, we want to give a big, big hug and love out to our amazing team. We've got our producers, Tony Buzada and Jeffrey Apple. We also have our executive producers, Michael Mazzola, Serena DC, Pat Bonawat, and Laura Bonawat. And our amazing editor, Justin Ho, and our amazing coordinator, Zelene Hesse, who's back there right now.
Shout out to Jimmy Church.
Yeah, and our associate producer, Jimmy Church. And just all of our team here at A4S, Aaliyah, Ivan, Elmer, George. Okay. All right, let's hang up.
All right, happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Be well. Bye.
Bye. All right, everyone say a prayer. The cameras don't die or anything doesn't happen. Okay, have fun.
Thank you, Tony. All right, I guess we let's put the fourth wall back. Come on.
Okay, I'm done.
And wedding.
Won't be on mic?
Just be careful.
They won't be on mic.
Yeah.
All right.
Welcome everybody to the shotgun spontaneous wedding of my son Cody Blue Snyder and Tanya Nicole Brown Dahl. Soon
to be Snyder.
Soon to be Snyder. We'll lower this a little bit. This is just.
You don't even need it. You don't even need it.
It's fine.
Yes, your sound mixer as well.
Tanya, I don't think we need it.
You don't need it.
We don't need it.
Yeah, I don't think you need it.
We don't need it.
You don't need it.
We're in a studio. The acoustics are fantastic. Need a yoke please.
So, I've done about 8 of these already for different people, family, friends, last minute save the wedding kind of deal sometimes. I'm ordained online, just like you can be ordained as well. And, I think it's kind of funny that usually these things are done by clergy, many of whom are giving sage advice to young, soon-to-be married couples, and they've never been laid. And I just wonder where they get this sage advice from. I'm sure it's in a manual somewhere. In my case, I've been with Cody's mom for 48 years.
Stop talking. It's not a good thing.
43 married, 48 since I met her, and so it gives me a certain amount of authority over the marriage, and to me it is the most important thing. Oh, let me mute this right now. To me, marriage is the greatest thing in the world. It's the most important thing in the world, and I'm talking to you two.
Oh,
As well, but you've been around for quite a few of those years. But it's something that can never, ever be taken for granted. And the fact that we're together, as long as we are together, is no judgment on anybody's marriage who is shorter or didn't survive, because marriage is tough. It's always a work in progress. It's a muscle. If you don't exercise it, it atrophies and dies. Okay, and and just because you're together 20, 30 years, it's never set it and forget it. You've always got to care. You've always got to be thinking about the other person. You've always got to want to be better for them. And if you have a great partner, they make you a better person. Most certainly, this one did that for me. My trajectory was a lot weirder before I met her. And she's partially responsible for my weird trajectory. So this is the first wedding I'm doing without a formal ceremony. This was so last minute. Your mother and I are pretty sure you were trying to shake all of us, but as I said, she's Italian and she'd have found him. And we're glad that we know that. I think that you guys are kind of surprised yourselves. That's the one thing. You're going to do this quickie thing, and you let a few people know, and everybody said, well, we'd like to be there.
Yeah.
And so people were traveling across country and coming all the way down state to see, and it's a long drive down to be here because, well, one reason, we love you guys. You said something, you had another officiant who's probably here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for stepping aside so that I could do this, because I was online at Starbucks with Cody when he laid eyes on Tanya. And I clearly remember talking to him and turning around and he was gone. And then I stood further around and he was over talking to Tanya. And then we were there when they got engaged in Belize. We were in another restaurant when they had a moment on 11/11.
Yeah.
So they said, I guess it makes sense that since we're here, I performed the ceremony, and I'm honored to do that. But son, you found a good one.
Yeah.
And you found a good one. And Tanya, you found a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you guys are one and the same. And again, you make each other better. You make each other stronger. I just realized something. Is this an episode of Acid Square?
He tried.
What a cheap shot. Okay, anyways, so now you have,
Yeah, now.
now?
Who's going first?
I think you should go first. Yes, you should go first.
I'm very nervous.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to have someone sage the room.
I just felt like I'm gonna vomit a little bit. It's cool.
Okay.
Amir, pay later?
Yeah.
I was just thinking that. You read my mind.
Okay. This is a lot. I have a lot of emotions. All right. Also, yeah. Okay. Fuck it. Just asking this straight. All right, Tanya. Shit. As a boy, I never thought I'd get married. As a young man, I toiled, wondering how I would ever know who was the right person, when it was the right time, and how I would know if I was making the right decision. But from the moment we became partners, in the background of my mind, I literally noticed my brain reciting our wedding vows from day one, and every day since. Throughout everything I do, I have been dreaming of these vows to you, I swear to God. Luckily, for the sake of time and everyone here, I did not write those thoughts down. Thank you. But the point of the story is that I never had to contemplate or question or seek advice when it came to the topic of marrying you. I always knew. Marrying you, loving you, and being your partner has been the easiest decision I've ever made in my entire life. It wasn't even a decision at all. It just was, is, and always has been you. You are a real life angel. You are, fuck it. All right. You're a holy woman. You walk with the divine. The gods speak to you. They speak through you. I've witnessed it time and time again, and I know the hell you have to walk through to get to the other side, so you can receive messages of healing for the world and all of us, and then I watch you tie yourself into knots, searching for the most accessible way to translate the whispers of spirit into art so it can be shared with those in need, regardless of what judgment or prejudice you might face in the process. You're the most creative person I've ever met. You're strong, you're infinitely creative, you're wise, and you've experienced much pain in your life, but still continue to project love into this world. I respect that more than anything. You're always plotting and planning on the best ways you can heal people, protect children, save animals, humanize bugs, and teach people how to fear no longer what they do not understand. And I promise for as long as I live to be your partner in these sacred pursuits. I will spend every day for as long as I live pulling drowning bugs out of swimming pools, feeding hungry squirrels at the park, complimenting the vitality of our houseplants, resuscitating dying bees with honey, and looking out for the slugs on the sidewalk. I will do this for our little friends in need because we're all connected, but even more so, I do this because I love you. I thought I knew love, I thought I knew partnership, I thought I knew God, but our relationship has shown me that I knew nothing at all. In a world of illusion, you are the one thing I know to be true. You are my North Star in an ocean of darkness. As long as I'm with you, I can always seem to find my way home, back to what is right and true. Long ago, I had dedicated my life to being a servant of good, a servant of truth, and a servant of God, but none of those things were ever truly possible without you. You are my other half that I didn't even know I was missing. This entire time I've been hopping around on one leg with one arm like an asshole. Unaware that the universe made me in a manner that I would never be able to fulfill my life's purpose until I found you. And not just found you, merged with you in perfect harmony, sacrificing myself for us to exist. And ever since we joined as one, I've watched our love literally bend the laws of physics and create miracles before my very eyes. Events and phenomena that have forever changed me, healed me, and bonded us together. Because when one encounters the divine and returns with the mere memory of the experience, one will always convince themselves that they are crazy. It was probably just a figment of their imagination. But when two encounter the divine and have the same exact experience and hear the same exact message, they will never let each other forget it. And that is exactly what is happening to us. It is this mirror, this support system that we have created for one another that has allowed us to take the lessons and messages from Spirit and put them into practice, a shared practice that has transformed our reality and created the life of our dreams. Look around you. Look around. Look at what our love has created. Everything you see was a God-given dream, and now we live in it. Our love has changed our world, it is changing the world, and it will continue to change the world until the end of time. Most of all, our love has healed my soul and saved my life, and for that, I will forever be grateful. Now, I don't know if all of you know this, but I bear the honor of being the last person to have a conversation with your grandmother before she transitioned to the other side. And while on her deathbed, Grandma took my hand in hers, and I literally began to feel our hands vibrate as one. A vibration so strong that I could not tell where my arm began and where hers ended. And Grandma looked at me in the eyes, excuse me, and she said, "Take care of my girl for me." And I replied, "I will." And she said, "Promise me." And I replied, "I promise." And she asked, "Why do you promise?" And I replied, through tears, "Because I love her." And her final words were, "That's the right answer." And she closed her eyes in peace. And I stand before you today, swearing to you that that promise is what I intend to keep. Until the day I die, I will take care of Grandma's girl for her. The every wrinkle and gray hair, I will love you, I will protect you, I will heal you, and I will sit beside you as you heal yourself. Through pain and play, I will hold you and lift you up, reminding you every day that you are perfect the way you are and never alone. I will always be with you in this life and next. Lastly, as everyone here knows, this wedding ceremony was expedited so you could get on my insurance. Insurance I only have because of the script I'm writing about love is dedicated to you.
That's true.
The reason we need you on my insurance is so we can bring a child into this world. A little girl that won't leave us the fuck alone. She has come to us in dreams, ceremonies, psychics, mediums, channels, and the lady who sold me this suit. And as fearful as you and me have both been about having a kid, I couldn't and wouldn't want to do this with anyone but you. And I just want you to know that you will be the perfect mother, and I will be the best father I can be to this little squish. And I will always be there for you, and all the parenting responsibilities are not going to fall on you. I can't be the mother, but I will support the mother in all the ways a mother deserves to be supported. And that is my promise to you. I am not going anywhere, and any shortcomings that surface in me throughout the process, I promise to heal and change. Not out of guilt or obligation, but out of my love for you and our family. I love you, Tanya. No more I, just we, and Acid for Squares forever.
That was beautiful. I had my tear ducts removed in '82, but I think they're growing back, so I felt something. You know how hard that is for
Okay. I'm ready. Okay. All right, first to my mom and dad, thank you for being the most beautiful, amazing parents a girls could ask for. And thank you for showing me what true kindness to others looks like so I can recognize it in Cody. To my grandma Jan, my soul twin who transitioned this past year, thank you for watching over me and guiding me through this life. Your spirit is always with me. And to Suzette and Dee, who welcomed me as one of their own from the very beginning, I'm deeply grateful for you both. To Shai and Shane, Abby and Jesse, and all of Cody's incredible family members, you are pure magic, and I feel so honored to call you my family too. To everyone here, and to our beloved friends and family who couldn't fit in this tiny room, as well as those loved ones who have passed on, you are all a part of who Cody and I are today. Your love and presence and memories shape us, and without each of you, we wouldn't be who we are. Thank you for being with us in body and in spirit. Okay, Cody. Hey. I've been writing these vows for 5 years. Every time you've done something so impeccably, Cody, I've had to jot it down and put it into a speech that I'm saying to you right now. Even though there can never be a speech that can fully encompass and allow someone to grasp the fullness of what you mean to me, I will do my best. How perfect that you and I were brought together by magic. 3 small dove cards infused with words of everything I could hope for in a partner. Grandmother Ayahuasca knew we were destined for each other before we could recognize it in ourselves. And somehow, by the grace of God, you are standing here before me right now. I've always had on my social media profile, The Curious Life of Tanya. But my life has become curiouser and curiouser since meeting you. I mean, we fell in love, lost in Joshua Tree National Park, cuddling under a massive rock, freezing to death in 40-mile-an-hour winds. I gotta say, I couldn't have written it better myself. You are my best friend, my partner, my teacher, my lover, and the person I want by my side in this wild game of life. Truly, just look at what you and I have created together in 5 short years because of our love. I am waiting on bated breath to see what enchantment the future holds for us. To paint a picture of this beautiful man, here are some reasons I love you. You are the master of a sweet, soulful playlist with just a hint of Norwegian death metal. You are the first one to get up and dance, and you have new moves like no other. I love when you talk nerdy to me. Yes, I do want to hear about how the tortoise lives for 500 years, and that our ability to hear is due to vibrations that stimulate tiny hair cells inside of our ears. You always look the other direction when I'm about to sneeze because you know I won't be able to if you're looking at me. How you let me tell you morning updates about new bug friends in the garden, and you listen with interest. You are probably also going to talk about insects too, and I feel like they aren't mentioned enough in vows. So at least we're making up for lost time. The way you took the time to write thoughtful and encouraging letters to all the kids who did not get the role in your film, to make sure that they knew how amazing they are, and that their dreams of being an actor weren't crushed by the loss of one job. Those 3 cute little freckles on your earlobe that get me every time. The way you are with my family. How you sing little songs about everything you're doing. I only know 2 other people that do that, my mom and Linda Belcher. It's from Bob's Burgers. Okay. How you always give me the window seat, and you offer the stranger sitting next to you on the plane a piece of gum to help with the changing pressure. You see me in ways I've never felt seen before. You are the only one who's been able to handle my level of weird and actually encourages my weirdness and then one-ups it. It's a beautiful thing, and I pray everyone gets to experience that feeling of authentic freedom in this lifetime. The world might view you as a funny ADHD wild man, but you are quite literally a genius. When you talk to someone, it's like everyone else in the room disappears. That's why everyone wants to be near you all the time, because you give each person a space where they feel seen, loved, and accepted just as they are. Some people might see your heart on your sleeve kindness as a weakness, since our world has made us think that truly caring is somehow a disease. But I know your kindness is a daily, moment-to-moment choice to choose love in every situation, even if it hurts you, because you know that we aren't well until we all are well. But I digress. Long story short.
That's fucked up.
Looking back, I guess this was written in the stars. The same ones we look up at night and see the divine shining back at us. The sky is sometimes filled with interdimensional beings that ask us to question our reality, our earthly programming, and find the true magic that lies before this lifetime as Cody and Tanya began. When you say I miss you, when I'm right next to you, it's like our souls miss each other in their actual form. I feel like my soul has loved you since the beginning of everything. Maybe we are from the same star. It's these moments that make me realize how blessed I am to have found you, my one true love. Out of all the galaxies, all the planets, amidst billions of people, and through all the noise and distractions, here you are. Mm-hmm. I'm so glad that I exist at the same time as you. I choose to do this life hand in hand with you. The most beautiful being to ever exist. In your arms, I am home. I'm the luckiest girl in the world. I don't know what I did to deserve you, but I'm so glad I did it. You are my syzygy, And I know this because Tyler knows this. You make me a better woman, and I promise to do everything in my power for the rest of my life to make sure all of your dreams come true. This ceremony means to me that I forever, for the rest of my being, will love and take care of you, and will watch The Office on repeat as we witness again and again that we are Michael and Holly. And promise to see you fully, this being, this soul, for all that it is. Forever and always, in all of its delightful evolutions and divine incarnations, I am here, unwavering, to lift you up, to honor the greatness in you, and to let the world know that I, in all of my being, see you in all of your majesty. Inshallah.
What does syzygy mean? Syzygy?
It's like an antiquated term for
the stars align.
opposites. Yeah. Maybe Martini, go ahead.
And the stars aligned, 2001.
Never too old to learn something new. So, wow. I really don't think there's much more to say.
Sorry, that was long.
Well, no, it was long. That was freaking beautiful.
Yes.
Both of you guys. It was really beautiful. And the rest is just sort of redundant. Because you said it all, let's get informal.
We could have summed it up, it's just our weirdness is matching up.
Yeah, as Deadpool said, you're crazy, me, matches my crazy. Yeah. Right, I'm getting blown up because you're sending messages to the family?
Yes.
That's good. So I want to get this part right, because it's just whatever it's worth. So, do you have rings?
We do.
I think so.
Okay. Get them out.
He said he...
Okay. Slip your ring on that girl's finger before she changes her mind. And say these words, my son. Okay? I give you this ring
I give you this ring.
as a sign of my faithful devotion.
As a sign of my faithful devotion.
I will always love you,
I'll always love you.
cherish you,
Cherish you.
and honor the vows
And honor these vows.
spoken here today.
Spoken in this
You got a ring for this guy?
We
You got the ring finger open?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, repeat after me. I give you this ring
I give you this ring
as a sign of my faithful devotion.
as a sign of my faithful devotion.
I will always love you,
I will always love you,
cherish you,
cherish you,
and honor the vows
and honor the vows
spoken here today.
spoken here today.
All right, so now these words, I kind of remember them, but you all just said them already. You said for better, for worse. Cody, you take this woman for better, for worse, in sickness and health, and all the other stuff till death do you part.
Yes, I do.
Tanya, you take Cody for better, for worse, in sickness and health, rich for poor. I forgot that one. Until death do you part.
I do.
And by the power,
Wait.
no,
Can you cue the song?
the song. Is it Wham?
Okay.
Ready?
Let's dance.
Okay. Then, by the power vested in me, by the universal whatever church, and the power of Grayskull, as we discussed, I pronounce you man and wife, son, daughter-in-law. You may kiss each other now.